Hello and welcome to the Perth Gaming Crew show. First of all, we're welcoming back Johnny this week. Welcome back, Johnny.
Thank you, John. It's great to be back. I want to make a big shout out to Dudley for taking on co-hosting duties last week, and an episode I absolutely loved. I loved your guys' sort of take on the green versus blue console war of our current generation. Enjoyed it thoroughly. It was a great way for me to kick back and enjoy the show. But very happy to be back and very excited because today we're talking about PAX Australia, which is now less than a month away.
Massive, exciting episode for everyone. And, Ludley and I did feed into that console war. We, a bit of a joke around with our last episode. For those of you who have been following the news, you will see that the PlayStation 5 Pro has since been announced. And here in Australia, it's $1,200. So shell out some money if you want to go do that. But that's not what we're here for today. As Johnny mentioned, we have got a very exciting episode for you today. PGC is going to PAX AUS, which is PAX Australia. So we've got a lot to talk about here. But Johnny, over to you as our resident PAX expert.
Well, so for those who are uninitiated, not familiar what PAX is, put simply, PAX is a series of gaming culture festivals spanning major cities across the US. But now also PAX has come to Australia. So there's been about 10 years of PAX now. And this all kicked off when the authors of the Penny Arcade webcomic kicked things off with the Penny Arcade Expo, which is where the PAX acronym comes from. So in the United States, the PAX convention, the PAX festival, it's named after different points on the compass. So, for example, PAX West is held in Seattle on the west coast of the US. PAX East is held in Boston on the east coast. And in 2013, the first PAX AUS, or PAX Australia, was held in Melbourne, and Melbourne has remained the home of PAX Australia ever since. And I think I speak for both of us, John, that we're incredibly excited to attend our first ever PAX. I'm assuming I could be making an assumption, John. This is definitely my first ever PAX to attend. I'm not sure. Is that correct for you too, John?
Yeah, it is. It's my first big gaming convention on a national level or international level, and certainly first time at PAX on behalf of PGC, and just as like a super full-on gamer. So very, very excited. Yeah,
it's absolutely massive now. Less than a month to go, and we've got a lot to talk about what we're excited for and what we're looking forward to most. Hey.
Absolutely. So yeah, both Johnny and I will be going, and we've got another friend of ours who'll be joining us as well. Johnny and I don't live in Melbourne, so it's a bit of a trip, but we just can't wait for it. It's just one of those things we have to do. And if you're a gamer, if you live in Melbourne, absolutely go. The show goes across 3 days. You can buy tickets for each day, although I understand that the badges for the second day, Saturday, are sold out. Is that right, Johnny?
Saturday's sold out already.
Saturday's gone.
Saturday's gone. Still a few badges. I understand there's a few badges left for Friday and Sunday. I'll be there for the 3 days. John, you'll be there Saturday and Sunday. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll be flying over Friday just from Perth with the time difference and the flight length. It's just a bit tricky to do the full Friday.
Yeah.
And I don't like the night flights. So, yeah. But two days, I will be maximizing my time, I tell you, and asking you every single detail about what I missed out on Friday. So, yeah, looking forward to being in Melbourne again. It's just such a gorgeous city. I used to live there. It's wonderful, and just to come to the gaming convention is fantastic. But Johnny, as you mentioned, we are excited for a lot about PAX. So I put the question to you, what are the things, or what is the one thing, up to you, that you are most excited for about PAX? There's so much.
There's so much. It's kind of hard to pick where to begin. I will make a brief honourable mention. One aspect of going to Melbourne for PAX that I'm very excited is that I'll have my Switch set up in our temporary PGC headquarters in the Docklands area, and there'll definitely be after many hours of the convention, there'll be some. I think you can count on us to do a bit of Nintendo World
Excellent. Oh,
Championships.
classic. With the classic controllers too. Yes.
Just to wind down after a day in the Expo Hall. So that's something I'm very much looking forward to. Spending a bit of time with my PGC brother John and another mate who's coming down with us. But to bring it back to the focus on PAX, what I'm really, I guess, curious about and eager to hear about more as PAX gets a bit closer is finding out what kind of Nintendo presence will be at PAX this year. They had a pretty impressive lineup last year, and so kind of really just hanging out to see what sort of presence we'll see at PAX in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like looking at some of the panels, like I know there are some panels and groups scheduled around Splatoon 3, Mario Kart 8. I think there's even a Fire Emblem Three Houses one, and certainly Super Mario Wonder will be there. It's just curious to see what will Nintendo bring, because Nintendo did come last time. And Nintendo also has gone to PAX West, which is, I think, just wrapped up. That's the most recent one. So I saw they were present there. So, I mean, for those who are not familiar with PAX, or you might be a little bit familiar with Gamescom or the old E3, the old big game conventions, it's not really a reveal type event where they reveal the biggest games. It's more they focus on the latest games or the most popular games. So I would say Super Mario Wonder, which is a huge hit, and we've just seen yesterday an announcement in Australia, a new bundle for Super Mario Wonder, the Switch OLED, for quite a good price come out. I would say they'd be promoting that heavily. I have no doubt that Nintendo will be at PAX West big time. So, yeah, that'll be super exciting to see Nintendo in the flesh. Johnny, with Nintendo presenting, is there anything in particular that you're excited about? Is it a game, or is it the booths, or is it just the feeling that Nintendo brings, or anything like that?
I mean, it's all of the above, John, but I have to say I'm particularly hopeful that we get to see a bit of Mario and Luigi Brothership ahead of its. I think it might be a end of the year release or possibly early next year, but so it'll be a little bit ahead of its release. I'm wondering if we'll get to see a bit more of that at PAX, possibly even probably dreaming a bit too much, think there might be opportunity for hands-on, but whatever we get to see, I'll be very pumped for.
Nice. Well, we're going to come back to that in a moment, actually.
Awesome.
And in terms of like what I'm most excited about, yeah, it's the same as you, Johnny. Like just meeting up face to face, spending that time together, experiencing a really like just conventions in general. It's like a concert. It's just this fantastic like center place for a really positive, energizing vibe, like-minded people. I'm really excited just to meet people who've been watching our show, who've been in touch, or people who have not heard about us, who just want to catch up and chat and see what's going on in Perth. I'm really excited just to see something of this scale. I expect it to be quite overwhelming. Even just seeing the footage that we've got up here that they've put up about previous PAX, it's massive. I think you can get lost in a sea of just things to do. Besides, go ahead. Yeah,
I was just going to say that's an amazing point, John, because especially about viewers from Perth Beyond telling us like the topics that they're interested in that they like to hear on the podcast, because we often will slot into the schedule topics that viewers have suggested to us. So it'd be great for people to come up to us and tell us their ideas for future episodes of the pod, because we often love to throw those into the mix.
We are here for the hungry people of Perth and beyond. The other thing I'm super excited about is, in addition to that vibe and just being in Melbourne and there again at the convention, is seeing all the developers. Without going into any specifics, just seeing the staff present representing the different companies like Capcom or Xbox or Nintendo. There's quite a few I just have to go and see first time in the flesh and be like, what's it like being a staff member? What's it like presenting, the latest Monster Hunter game? What's it like? So I cannot wait to do that and just see there and geek out a bit and listen to those conversations. It'll be interesting to see what they can say about their latest games. It'll be interesting to see what we can play and what will just be shown on a screen, like you were saying, Johnny. So there is so much to be excited for PAX Australia. But look, probably the biggest thing we have to start with is the games, because we don't know what's going to be there exactly. We don't know who's going to be there exactly. If you look at the PAX West schedule, it does show the developers that were there, so we might expect some of the same developers to be there. But in terms of games, it's really hard to know. But Johnny, you did mention Mario and Luigi Brothership, which won't be coming out till after PAX. So do you think we'll get a chance to see it, or do you think they'll start promoting it even with just some video footage or some products, or maybe a giant diorama Mario and Luigi or something? Do you think we'll see anything like that, or is that your number one?
I think there's a decent chance you'll start to see, at the very least, some promotion of it, because it's the obviously Nintendo's dropping Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom pretty soon, actually, later this month. And so then that'll have its breathing space. And then PAX in the middle of October is actually good timing for Nintendo to start to build a bit of hype for the Brothership. So I can definitely see there being a bit of promotion at the bare minimum by the time PAX comes around, and on their sort of Nintendo's kind of global scale, and that will tie in nicely for what they want to do on the ground in PAX, I think.
Absolutely. And you mentioned like Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. That's probably the biggest one that we're going to see. They're releasing that with the Hyrule edition of the Nintendo Lite, which kind of surprised me because we know the Switch 2 is on its way. And I bet you that is going to sell out big time, that Nintendo Switch Lite. And it's going to go for hundreds within a couple of years, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I would say this game will definitely be playable and very popular.
Yeah. I mean, it'll release a couple of weeks before PAX.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and there's actually a panel dedicated to largely talking about this game on the Sunday, which is when I know we haven't started talking about panels yet, but one of the panels I'm very much looking forward to is a panel that Zelda Universe are bringing. Zelda Universe, if you're not familiar with them, these guys are amazing. They just got so much passion for all things Zelda. Really, what I know them very well for is their annual charity Zelda marathons, where they play through pretty much almost all Zelda games over a 24, sometimes longer period, and they're raising money for a local charity, usually in the US. I think almost exclusively in the US. So they're bringing a great panel for Sunday on that focuses on Echoes of Wisdom. So I'm very much looking forward to that.
Oh, that's so good. That's brilliant. I didn't know about that one. I might check that one out with you. Well, in terms of games and what's going to be there and exciting, there's a couple of things that I'm really excited about personally. I think, first of all, the biggest one, undoubtedly is most likely game of the year, is if you are a Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan, then this is for you. So there's a game called Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Rita's Rewind. It's been shown off at Gamescom. It's going to be at PAX. Johnny's laughing because he knows that this is the biggest game of the year by far. Look, I was a bit of a Power Rangers fan when I was a kid. I can't say I follow the show these days, but the fact that this is just like another bring back, kind of like Shredder's Revenge, which we did an episode on, is just so cool. Co-op beat 'em up, all the Power Rangers. Apparently the Green Power Ranger is like an extra character that you can
Unlockable?
play.
Yeah.
Unlockable. I mean, that all works, doesn't it, Johnny?
Well, my first question is: Has the Green Ranger been shafted? And no, he's unlockable. Phew.
That's where that's where he belongs, because you just know he's going to be a boss fight, because that's how it goes. And then you'll beat him and you unlock him, which is just perfect. Power Rangers kind of game design. So I'm actually genuinely excited about that one, because I
I
like the
know.
co-op beat 'em ups.
Looks good.
And looks like Shredder's Revenge a bit
Yeah.
too.
It's got that
Yeah.
vibe, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And then another game that I'm quite excited for, which is coming across all the platforms, is developed by Atlas. So they developed Persona 5, Persona 5 Royal, which I've been playing a lot of recently. This game is Metaphor Refantazio. Some of you might be familiar with it. It's been spruiked all over the Xbox channels, but it is coming to PlayStation 5, probably 4, I'm not sure, at some point in time anyway. And no doubt it'll get ported to the Switch or the Switch 2 in the future. But this is actually a game, Johnny, that is very much up my alley, and I've had my eye on most of the year. I'm very excited for this, because I just love, they've got a really top quality anime art style, but Atlas does stories in a level that's just elevated beyond a lot of developers. They're kind of like Larian Studios for Baldur's Gate 3, where you can go play. Oh, I don't want to say a Final Fantasy game to anger everyone, but I mean, look, I see Atlas storytelling as right up there, top tier. It's often just so intricate, it's so compelling, and even if you look at this and you're like, I'm not really into anime, it all looks a bit strange to me. When it's the kind of game when you play, it all really clicks well and makes sense. And the production values are just incredible in these games. So this is Metaphor Refantazio, coming out very soon. Cannot wait to get my hands on it at PAX and just have that experience of being at that big game convention and sitting there and playing and just trying something else out. Johnny, are there any other games that you had to mention? Because I do have one more, if not, to sneak in as a surprise.
No, you go, John. No, I'm very keen to hear your what you're excited for too.
Okay, so the next one is what we call Super Mario Sunshine Odyssey 2D on the PlayStation. No, it's actually Astro Bot. So Astro Bot has just been released for the PS5. It looks really fantastic. It's getting really solid reviews. I jokingly throw in the Mario references because it's very much a 3D platformer in that vein. I would say it looks to take the Mario Odyssey formula one step further in terms of the gameplay. It maximizes all the features of the PlayStation 5 controller, like the haptic feedback, all that kind of stuff as well. A lot of people are excited to play. I don't have a PlayStation 5, so coming to a game convention like PAX Aus is just a great experience to get that E3 vibe that I missed out on, because I never went. It was always in the US and it's closed down, so I'll never be able to go. But I think just being able to experience the latest gen tech, the latest game on another console that I don't own, and just play for that and go, all right, that's what it's like. What am I missing out on? If I was a buyer, would I want to buy this? And just come at it from that angle and perspective. That would be really exciting. But that is Astro Bot. For those of you who have a PS5, check that out. Johnny, have you heard of this game, or does this appeal to you with its Mario kind of 3D vibes?
Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this. Obviously, I'm not as up to date on my PlayStation gaming as some. My PlayStation gaming kind of dropped off at sort of around the start of the PS4. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot about this. It does look very cool. It's very much like Sony's Mario Odyssey, isn't it?
Super Sony Odyssey.
Nothing wrong with that though, because it's a great formula, and others should be able to get in on the fun. And they've got their own little mascot, which is cool. I'm all for it.
Yeah, cool. And I think just on that point about mascots, Sony does need that. I think they're lacking that part of their brand identity that we see Nintendo and Xbox is missing that too. But Johnny, enough talk from me. The panels. We're here for the panels. I know you've been holding back.
So
you've been
many
showing
panels.
a lot of restraint. Talk to us about the panels. What's going on?
I had a bit of lack of restraint there. I already bust. I couldn't quite wait.
Did you jump the Brothership?
I did jump the Brothership a bit and got stuck into Zelda Universe's panel. I'm just a big fan of that. Those guys are
Nothing
really cool.
Wrong with that.
I'm a very big fan. But there's also a lot of others that I'm just itching to get around and check out. Like and this week, because I've been seeing so much footage of Civ 7, I'm super excited for Firaxis coming and giving and their panel talking about Civ 7, which is a February 2025 release.
Not
So
far.
it's not far away. This week, Firaxis dropped a demo of the antiquity age of the game. So the game is split into 3 eras or ages, and they've shown quite a lot of the antiquity era. Which is what I'm really here for. So on the screen, this is great. We got some of the previous entries into the Civ franchise, which have all been great. But I honestly feel like Civ 7 feels like they've made a Civ that I feel like it's a Civ for me. I love how they've really that seem to be deep diving on each of the eras in the latest Civ entry. They're doing some things that I haven't seen before in Civ games. If I
What
have
kind of things are they doing a bit differently, Johnny? Like that you're
so
seeing? Looks gorgeous.
if I've ever had a complaint about Civ, it's always been like I felt like things just moved too quickly out of like the time progress was very fast, and before you know it, you're out of your sort of classical civilization era and you're into kind of your Renaissance and that kind of thing. It always felt like it was happened really fast, even if you're playing on like a really like a marathon mode, which is like a slower pace mode. So I feel like they've finally made a Civ game for people, nutters like me, who just like to take their time in a particular era. So they've got an antiquity era where you can play as your kind of Roman and empires and stuff like that. But then they've got like each era kind of gets your civilizations kind of flow into the next era, and they kind of what's the best way to describe it? But they kind of evolve into like a next era. So like I think the way they might work it is things like and I haven't really shown all the detail about explaining how this will work, and I'm hoping at PAX we'll see more of it. But it'll be things like I think it'll be things like the Aztecs could become like, or like Aztecs become America, and as the time progresses, so you kind of
I see what you mean.
layer one civil on top of another.
So they develop into new nations, or that new
Yeah,
concept of a nation is formed from like the Aztec
and,
Empire into
and
like what we see is South America and
yeah,
USA
that's
and all
right.
that kind of stuff.
And I
Yeah.
think it's fairly fluid too. So for what I understand, for the first time, leaders won't be automatically linked to particular civilization. So you can, if you want to mix and match a bit, you can do that. So for example, you could have, I don't know, you could have like, in theory, and this isn't confirmed in the game or anything, I'll just be very clear, but it could be things like you could have, I don't know, you could have your leader could be like a pharaoh, but
Mao Zedong, maybe Mao
yeah,
Zedong in Egypt or something like
Mao Zedong
that.
in Egypt or
Mao
something
Zedong
like
in
that.
Egypt, or
You could get pretty wacky with it, is what I understand. Is they've delinked the leaders from the civilizations. If you want to go down that path, if you want to go a bit more like in a more kind of fantastical route, as opposed to more like a historical route, or as close to history as you possibly can with these games. So I'm really, just really keen to hear more about the game. I think there's some like developer meet and greets scheduled, so that will be cool to get along and possibly even chat to the developers at Firaxis to hear about, like, because they clearly have so much passion for the series when you hear them talking in these gameplay demos, and it's so awesome that they'll be on the ground in Melbourne, because this is very, very much maybe one of the big gaming things I'm excited for next year is Civ 7. It just looks amazing.
Yeah, well, one of the special guests, so there's the panel there for Civ, but the special guest for PAX is the lead, I was just having a look now, the lead producer at For Access, Andrew Frederiksen. So super excited that he's going to be here. I love it that one of your favorite franchises is going to be representing the year that you're going. Like,
I
how
know,
exciting
it
is
couldn't
that?
be better. Like, just timing, the stars have aligned.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, one that I'm excited about is a game I've harped on about a few times, probably more so the last year and a little bit in the previous year. And unfortunately, it's on the Friday, so I'm going to miss it Friday night. But I want to put it out there just because I think a lot of people will be interested in this game. There'll be a lot of hype for this game. And yeah, it's just, I'll have to go next year and hopefully they'll show it again. But this is Avowed, and they are going to have a panel on the Friday night, just a deep dive into the game, developer discussing the game in general, which is fantastic because this is one of the big flagship titles on the Xbox Series. It may go multi-platform later. It was meant to release later this year. I was hoping to play it. It's really, look, to simplify it, it's kind of like Skyrim, but it's a much more modern version, and it's based in the same universe as the Pillars of Eternity games, which were fantastic, which were also developed by Obsidian Entertainment. So this game has been in the works for a long time. It's getting fantastic hands-on previews, which you can see there's quite a few out there recently from Gamescom. I just wish I could get hands-on with it. It won't be hands-on, unfortunately, at PAX. Johnny, sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I'll get down and cover the panel for you, John, so I can report back to
Oh,
the hungry, avowed fans of the Person Beyond
they're
crew.
out there. They're
Yeah.
out there. I know I'll be the hungriest of them all, but I'll be up there too. But in all seriousness, like, this game looks fantastic. It just, yeah, it'd be one that I wish I could make it to. I think there'll be a lot of interest in this particular panel as well. And it's like you were saying, Johnny, it's like the crux of PAX, where you can go see a game that's coming out soon or just come out, meet the developers, hear all about it, and just geek out, which is absolutely fantastic. But Johnny, I believe there's another pretty big game that you're interested in beyond Zelda and Civ. It's something to do with the Shire, maybe. Is that the one?
Yeah, so it's everybody's favorite Animal Crossing clone with the Lord of the Rings theme. And that's probably not doing it credit. Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, is just looking kind of interesting to me. Like the idea of just sort of hanging out as a hobbit in the Shire, having second breakfast, making your hobbit hole look nice and cozy. It seems like it's just a sort of chilled out kind of game that I'm actually looking forward to mucking around with at some stage. I'm not sure when. I'm not too sure when it releases. I think it might release later in the year. But
No, Johnny, you're right. But there's just been an update a few days ago saying this has been delayed to 2025. Yeah,
Cool.
and they said it'll be ready when it's ready. I think they threw in a Lord of the Rings quote or something. But just the last couple of days, they announced that it's been delayed. But this will still be present at PAX.
Yeah,
so you won't miss out.
I can imagine it would be something like a Lord of the Rings game is never early or late. It arrives precisely when it means to.
That's exactly the quote they used. I can't believe I couldn't remember it.
No, actually, that makes me happy. Actually, I often prefer people to like for games to be fine tuned and not rushed out early. Like if they're not ready, because I think going to a more serious issue, like developer crunch is a real thing, and I mean, if people are rushing out games, the developers are put under huge pressure, and they're human beings, and so I actually much prefer developers to take their sweet time with games, and deliver the game that they really want to, rather than trying to rush and meet an arbitrary deadline. And so, but I'm pretty excited because there'll be a couple of panels at PAX talking about this game. I'm just so fascinated with the concept, and love the idea of. I'm sure there's going to be some Gandalf fireworks somehow worked into this, and I haven't seen that yet, but I'm very hopeful of that kind of thing. And obviously the Amazon Lord of the Rings TV series is on at the moment, so that's
so good.
kind of built my enthusiasm for some Tolkien or Lord of the Rings themed games in the future when they're good and ready, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. Precisely when they mean to. I think it's great, like you said, that they've delayed it. If they need to delay it, so be it. Once the game's out, that's it. That's when all the critical eyes are on it. That's when we get our hands on it. You want to play a quality experience, and there is Rings of Power to tide us over until then. I know there's no combat with this game, which is probably really good because it is like a farming sim type game, and that's how people like it. I've
That's
not,
totally consistent with the
yeah.
lore too. That's the whole idea of the Shire and the hobbits, that it's this protected realm, and they basically they live their kind of peaceful existence because you have Aragorn and his mates, the Dunedain Rangers, patrolling the area around the Shire and keeping all the bad stuff in Middle Earth away from them. So it would be kind of a weird thing to have hobbits going and like fighting things. It would just be counter to the law, and the Tolkien fans, I think, would not accept that.
There's no wights or wargs or Aragorn or Strider here. It's all looked after. You just enjoy your second breakfast
Not in the
and do some
boundaries,
farming.
not in the boundaries of the Shire, John. So
That's right.
outside Middle Earth is a very dangerous place, but the Shire is a special place.
That's right. That's right. And that's why there's a game for it. You go enjoy your farming sim if you love the Shire. It looks perfect for Lord of the Rings fans who do want that peaceful time, kicking back with Bilbo Baggins or all the Hobbit mates there. There are a lot more panels to go on about. There's nothing wrong with calling a Hobbit mate because that's their official name in the movies.
That's it. Halflings,
or even half-foots in the Rings of Power.
Yes, true. Yeah. Relative of the Hobbit. It's a distant cousin of the Hobbit. Yep.
Yeah, that's
We're going
right.
deep now. We're going deep on the Tolkien.
We've segued.
Welcome to the
We're
Perth.
telling our own tales of the Shire.
Welcome to the Perth Tolkien crew.
It's out of control. We are going to move on. We're going to get back on track, back on the path to Mordor, wherever we're going. The next thing we had to bring up was the classic gaming space. Now, one of our friends who's going with us is super excited about this in particular because you can get your hands on a whole bunch of retro consoles and retro games from all the different eras. Johnny, can you tell us a bit more about the classic gaming space and what you're excited for?
This is amazing. This is like PAX's tribute to the history of gaming, and it acknowledges that gaming didn't start with consoles. It goes all the way back to the arcade. So there's arcade machine, there's pinball machines. I'm a big fan of the occasional pinball machine. I was recently down at an RSL in Sydney a while back, and they had my favorite pinball machine, which is actually a Lord of the Rings pinball machine, which is one of my favorite pinball machines. So I'm kind of keen to see what the kind of pinball machines that are on the ground there in Melbourne next month. But yeah, it's like that acknowledgement of the history of gaming, right from the early days through the 8-bit and 16-bit era through to our modern era. So yeah, PAX is definitely not just about modern gaming and what the latest things are. It's definitely got its it's got its respect for the history of gaming, and it's going to be a highlight for me as well as a lot of other a lot of us going to PAX next month.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's bang on, Johnny. Like, I'm super psyched about just this library of different consoles and games that we can experience. There'll be many that I'm familiar with. I didn't realize the arcades are going to be there too. So I saw that recently Capcom, and actually I should have brought this up, Capcom is going to probably bring the Marvel vs. Capcom fighting arcade collection, which has just released. But it will be really nice to try that in an arcade format with others, side by side, not putting $2 in for one game and not knowing any of the super moves and getting my ass kicked. So I think that'll be really cool, just like that arcade experience, because that is probably the X-Men Children of the Atom game is my favorite arcade game of all time, next to NBA Jam. Just absolutely love it. So yeah, that arcade thing, that's so cool to hear that. Very excited to hear that. Additionally, I've been ranting off air to Johnny a lot about the GameCube and how I wish there was a GameCube Mini in the works, which Nintendo, because you do listen to this podcast, go and make it. Like, I'll buy it. I'll buy 3. I'll buy all the colors and more. If there is a GameCube set up there, an orange spice GameCube, or even the indigo purple, I'll settle for that. The black one's a bit plain. If I get an orange spice GameCube, there's nothing wrong with the black GameCube or the grey one. They're all good. They're all the same. But I just want that rare orange spice GameCube to get my hands on because I never did. And if I can go play something like Wave Race, PAX Oz, just go get this sorted for me too, by the way. Wave Race would be awesome. The original Luigi's Mansion, because I never played that on GameCube. Or even my favorite of all time, Resident Evil, like HD. Well, not HD, it was just the remake, which looked absolutely gorgeous. The GameCube was my favorite Nintendo console of all time. So if that's there, I will probably get lost there, and Johnny will have to drag me back to the Tales of the Shire panel where they talk about there are no wargs, whites, and the other, and all that stuff. So very excited for that. Now, Johnny, we are running out of time, but there is a huge topic that I can't believe we've neglected so far: speedrunning. Talk to me about speedrunning and what's the speedrunning? What is speedrunning and what is it at PAX?
Yeah, so obviously there's a whole, in gaming in general, there's a whole culture about running through games as quickly as humanly possible. And there's a couple of, there's a lot of games that are famous for speedrunning challenges. A couple of my favorite games that come up in the speedrunning culture are Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past and Super Metroid from the Super Nintendo era. There's a lot of others as well that are favoured by the speedrunning culture, gaming subculture. But I'm very excited that at PAX there'll be a speedrunning stage, and there's a couple that are scheduled. There's a speedrunning focus on Link to the Past and also on Super Metroid. And I guess what I'm excited about going in and watching some of these speedruns is, I will say, it's the complete opposite way as to how I play around with these games. I tend to meander quite a bit. I'm the literal opposite of a speedrunner, but I have a lot of respect for the people who can go and like beat Link to the Past in like 20 minutes or whatever it is. I think it's even less. It's something crazy.
That's crazy because the game. Yeah. What would be the normal length of that game? At least 4 or more hours.
Your typical playthrough would be 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
Not talking like completionist runs, but it's sort of, do the main story, do all your dungeons, etc. So I just think it's cool that there is these people who can just like blitz these games in this ridiculous time frame. So I'm all here for it, to check it out and see some of my favorite games played in a way that I would never dream of playing it in that way. But I have so much respect for the people who can do it. I think they're amazing.
Awesome. That's so cool. And you mentioned Super Metroid too.
Yeah.
I don't even know, how do you speedrun that? Because you don't get the fast run power until later. It's a challenging game.
You'd think so, John, but the key to speedrunning Super Metroid is making the most of all the sequence breaks that are built into Super Metroid. And all Metroid.
There's no cheating or no codes or anything like that. It's actually possible to get those.
Metroid and all Metroid games most Metroid games are designed with what are called sequence breaks, where you can get access to powers that if you're playing through, I guess what would be you'd describe as the conventional sequence, you wouldn't get some power ups till much later on. But by you making use of these sequence breaks, you can get things early. This is actually possible in Metroid Dread. If you haven't tried it out, it's a lot of fun.
I didn't even know this existed, Johnny. This is a revelation to me. I thought it was very strict, and it was like, well, that wall's blocked off because I need the power bomb to blow it up, and that will allow me to get like the gravity suit or whatever. I thought it was always very strict and linear in that sense. I need to replay the entire freaking series now.
you need to turn on your sequence breaking mindset. And so, for example, there's a fantastic one in Metroid Dread where you can actually fight the Kraid. I won't go into specifics to avoid spoiling it. It's still a fairly recent game, but you can fight the Kraid boss fight in a really different way if you make use of a particular sequence break. And it's Metroid's famous for this, and that's the key for speedrunners to be able to finish these games really fast, as well as just being really skillful. Let's not forget that. That's really central to it. They're incredibly skillful. Their reflexes are amazing. It's cool. If you haven't watched a speedrun, if you've got a favorite game and it's scheduled as a speed run, do yourself a favor, John, go check it out, because your mind will be blown about how they go about doing things and to achieve those really fast times. So got a lot of respect for the speed running community. They're pretty awesome.
That's incredible. I think I'll join you on one of those speedrun shows. I've not seen it before. It's not something that's personally interested me a lot, but hearing this from you kind of excites and interests me. And I think I have to see the Metroid one, because just to see the sequence breaks in effect, I can't get my head around it. And I looked at the list of speedrunners too. There's actually going to be one on Super Mario Odyssey, which is a good game, a game I really like. It's not my favorite of all time, but when I played Super Mario Odyssey, it was more of a meander, go here, explore a bit, try that hat power on. Take your time in each of the worlds, take in the view, take in the beauty of the Switch, take photo selfies with filters and all that crap. So to see someone play Odyssey in a different way, where they're just bolting as fast as they can, T-Rex, break this, get through that, take on the bosses, I almost can't get my head around it. So I kind of want to see that too, and just be like, oh, that's how you really play like Mario Odyssey, or at least as a speedrunner. Full respect to the skills at display for the people who do that too. I think that'll be quite interesting. But yeah, people at Perth and beyond, there is a lot of speedrunning, and going back to the other panels that we talked about, there's a lot to see at PAX Australia.
Oh yeah.
We do have to wrap up shortly, but there's a couple of things we haven't mentioned. So PAX Australia has things like tabletop gaming. There's a whole area dedicated to that. There's a lot of merchandise you can buy. There is pin trading. Johnny, do you have any kind of final comments or anything else in particular you're really excited for PAX, or you want to give a shout out to?
Look, it'll be cool to see all the merch on display. Me personally, I literally just cancelled my credit card the other day to stop me buying lots of stuff, so I can keep on my budgeting campaign for a new PC rig before the end of the year. The temptation of all the merch is going to be massive. Just gotta go and check all that stuff out. I probably won't be able to resist bringing home a few trinkets from PAX, knowing my willpower to these things, and all about me, having recently gathered all the pins from the NES World Championship Deluxe Edition. So I'm a bit of a sucker for that sort of stuff, John. But what about you, John? Is there anything in particular looking forward to in that kind of space?
I'll share your excitement for the merchandise. I'm not sure what I want to get, but I know Nintendo will do their own special pin at PAX like they did last year. So I'm curious to see what that will be. And also just what other developers that I like or have liked for many years, particularly Capcom. Will they have anything particular that I can take home as a memento? One thing I haven't mentioned is that there is one area. It's called like the handheld lounge, and they run a bunch of sessions for games that you can play there. You can get a Switch. I don't know if there are other handheld consoles, but the Switches will be there to play. I've been playing a lot of Pikmin 4 lately, and I've almost finished it. And there's actually there's a group that's doing like Dandori battles, which is like the multiplayer battle stuff. So I'm very keen to give that a try and see what that looks like, and just talk to people who are playing a game that I'm playing at the moment, and be like, oh, you're playing Pikmin 4 because it's not a game that everyone's playing, for example, and just to chill out on the lounge, not for too long because there's so much else to see, but just for like half an hour or something, sit on the beanbags or whatever, set up. And I like that idea of people, like this space being created for people just to be like, well, you don't know anyone, they're from all over the world or all over Australia. You can just sit down, play some games together, have some fun, relax, and kick back that way. So really excited for that. But no, there's so much to see. And Johnny and I are going to do a post-PAX episode for those of you who are interested and excited. There might be some more things that come out of that as well. But for this episode, that is everything. So is there any final thoughts from you, Johnny, before we wrap up?
No, I'm just going to say it's going to be huge. Can't wait to get down to Melbourne and check it all out. Obviously, a few more podcasts before we go. So if there's anything super exciting announced, I think we'll probably find an opportunity to mention it before PAX. But otherwise, it will be fun to recap after PAX with a special PAX recap episode of the pod.
Yeah, looking forward to that, seeing how our reflections back on the experience overall. But that's everything from us today, people of Perth and beyond. So again, get in on PAX if you haven't. It's a wonderful experience, even if you just go for one day and not the full 3 days. Choose what you like to do, go with some friends. Even if you're a casual gamer, see what it's all about. We'd love to meet you. Don't be shy. We'll have our shirts. Come and say hi to us. But for now, that is the Perth Gaming Crew show. Over and out. See you later.